Hello, nice to see you today. Um, I'm not going to do any EFT in this video. I'm joined by my little assistant here. This is Domino. He is here for support, as always, or not. Um, I'm not going to do any EFT in today's video. This is just to tell you about this book that I've been reading, No Bad Parts. It's coming up backwards for me there. Maybe it is for you too, but hopefully you can still see enough of it. Um, so it says healing trauma and restoring wholeness with the internal family systems model. And this is an approach to parts work. So as a therapist, I've always just found myself intuitively using parts work. You start to notice with clients that um, it's a part of someone that's causing the problem rather than their entire self. You're not just self-sabotaging. There's a part of you saying, do this or don't do that, or whatever the self-sabotaging behavior is. And so you can intuitively start to work with that part. But this, and there are a lot of different kind of formal models about working with different parts. And this is the first one that I've explored. And I just loved the way that it made it clear. It sort of created a structure for how those parts are inside of us. So if you're not familiar with parts, it can sound a bit like what used to be called multiple personality disorder and is now called dissociative identity disorder. And that's kind of an extreme manifestation of it. But the reality is that we all have different parts inside of us, and maybe those parts have different agendas and different priorities. And generally, they're all just trying to keep us safe. So, in the principle of the internal family systems model, which is this one, is that we have a self inside of us, and that's kind of the unshakable core, the bit that's always okay, and that feels calm and feels good, um, and that we also have various parts. So we have protectors, which come in the form of managers and firefighters, depending on how they're protecting us. And we have exiles, and they're the parts that we might often think of as inner children. So inner child work is another form of parts work. So in this book, there's loads of exercises. It's so practical, and what I really love about the exercises is all but one of them can be done just in your mind, just by getting quiet where you are and going through the process that's described. There's no go and find your journal and go and get a pen, and because that's what often puts me off books where there's exercises. Oh, I haven't got my journal and pen with me. I'll have to set that aside until a more convenient time. But there was none of that with this. You could just do the exercise and then continue reading, which I loved about it. Um, and it's all the exercises are for getting to know yourself better and getting to know what parts you're working with. And yeah, I don't think there's any downside to that at all, really. I've heard people say, why would you use parts work if you're not dealing with trauma? Why would you use a sledgehammer to crack a nut? But I don't see it like that at all. I don't think there's any reason to avoid getting to understand yourself better. And one thing that is kind of stipulated in the book is that you don't go to the exiles without a practitioner present. So there would be the inner children that got separated from your core self during difficult times and times of turmoil. Um, and I can agree with that because that can get really intense. It can bring up a lot of strong emotions, and I think even if you are a practitioner, it's really good just to have someone else there for an outside perspective, because you can't see what's going on from the outside like somebody else can, obviously. Um, so yeah, but I think the exercises in the book, which are a lot about checking in with protectors and then kind of asking your parts to unblend. So unblending is the process of, so sometimes we identify with a part, um, and it's, yeah, we can think that we are that part. I'm trying to think of an example. Um, so it might just be, I don't want to go live on YouTube now, and that's me. But I know that that's a part of me, and that part's got a whole personality of its own, like this guy. Um, and that, yeah, that that part's got its own agenda and its own things that it wants. Are you going or staying? Um, but that there are also other parts of me that do want to go live on YouTube and do want to tell you all about this book that I've really enjoyed, and yeah, and share this experience with you so that you can also have the benefit of this book. Um, so if I were just to go, oh, I'm not going to do it, then that would be kind of fully identifying with that part. But on the other side of that, I can check in with myself and say to that part, okay, I understand that you don't want to do it. I'm here to listen to you. And would you mind kind of unblending so that I can check in with myself and see where that is? So unblending is asking the parts to step aside a bit so that you can recognize that you aren't them. We've just got a claw caught down here, so I'll just deal with that. Yeah. So that's the exercises in the book cover the unblending process, and that's so the goal is to become more yourself and to operate from yourself, this core self that we talked about throughout your day and throughout your life, and practicing doing that in the exercises by unblending from your parts, but giving them the time and space to express themselves, because you can't it's not about just push them aside and ignore them, because essentially that's what we've been doing so far. That's why we have exiles and protectors and things. Not in any blamey way, but that's just kind of what naturally happens. Uh, but yeah, unblending them from yourself so that you can be more yourself and you can operate every day more from yourself, which is kind of coming from this place of love and connectedness and yeah, just all of the good stuff that you want to be operating from on a daily basis. So that's the goal, is to be coming from that place. And that's where the exercises bring you to. And then you may find through doing the exercises that you have some deeper work to do and you have some exiles to nurture and bring home. Um, or you may just find that working with the protector parts, really gets you a long way, which I think it really can. So yeah, so this book is not for therapists necessarily. This book is for everyone. And there are some other books on the internal family systems model that are for therapists. So they're going to go onto my reading list for a future time. I've got some Gabor Mate to read next, so they're not going to be my very next thing. But yeah, at some point in the future, I'll be looking at those. And hopefully checking in here to let you know how that goes. If you've read this book, I'd love to hear from you and love to hear what you thought about it. If you like the sound of it and you plan to read it, I'd love to hear from you about that as well. And if you have any other book recommendations, that would also be really cool. The next book that I'm going to read is The Myth of Normal, which is the new one by Gabor Mate. And yeah, I've got some others that I've read recently that I may check in with at some point, but my next video will likely be an EFT one, but that won't be for a little while because I am going on holiday. So it may be Sunday that I might check in and do some live EFT with you. So check back then if you're interested. Until then, take care. Lots of love. Bye bye.